Welcome back to the Finding Flow podcast. I just want to take a quick second to thank our sponsors, the Inflow Wellness Academy, located in Plymouth, Michigan. They offer some amazing services that can help you better achieve these states of flow by optimizing your health and your wellness. Their services include personal training for general population, for athletes, for just about anybody. They offer pain modalities like massage therapy, laser therapy, yoga, durability classes, and they're experts in nutrition and supplementation. So if you're really looking to take your health and your body and your wellness to the next level, that's the place to be. That's the place to seek out. You can find them at inflowacademy.com. You can find them on Facebook and YouTube at Inflow Wellness Academy and on Instagram at Inflow Academy. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get the ball rolling.
Everything changes.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Finding Flow podcast. I'm Kevin Lowers alongside
Ben Knapp. Welcome back, everyone.
So what's going on, man?
Well, happy holidays to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It kind of worked out pretty good that we, get to use the holidays as maybe a platform for our next conversation. But
it's an interesting span of months for health practitioners. Like from October 31st, like the end of Halloween, I feel like all the way till the new year, people are just getting crazy.
Well, I love that time because I talk about how it seems like we're never actually focused on the holiday that's coming up next. It's like we're already anticipating the next. So I've actually said the one holiday that we should all be most familiar with is Thanksgiving, to be thankful, to slow things down, and it's funny that Thanksgiving seems to get absorbed in Halloween and then right to Christmas. Like the minute you take down your scarecrow from the backyard, you're automatically in Christmas mode, and which is about spending and hustle and bustle and stress and flipping off all the drivers that conveniently cut you off while you were on your way into buying things for people you actually don't even like.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's the one thing for me in holidays. I like the idea of them, like what they're supposed to be and like how they're supposed to be these times of like relaxation, hanging out with your family, but they become the most stressful, overbearing times of the year, at least in my opinion. And part of me just wants to shut it all out, and just be like, listen, nobody get me anything. I'm not going to give you anything. If you want to come over, I'll make some dinner. We can all give each other hugs, tell each other what we're thankful for.
I had more people this year, or maybe I just heard it more, but it felt like I had more people this year tell me that they weren't in the Christmas spirit. And so before I'll take something and move it along, I'm like, well, what does the Christmas spirit mean to you? So it's important that you have like an understanding of what they mean by what they're lacking. So I said, well, what does Christmas spirit mean to you? And it's always about gifts. It's always about slowing down. And that frustrates people. And so I use it as an opportunity. I'll always take the antagonist approach, but I use it as an opportunity to say, well, why don't you cultivate your own spirit? What does it mean to be, in spirit? We have, if we have young children, my daughter will ask me, is there a Santa Claus? Obviously, we're past that. She's 13 now, but is there a Santa Claus? And I said, well, what do you think? Do you believe that there's a Santa Claus? And then before I say yes or no, what does Santa Claus mean to you? So we've kind of put a little spin on it that Santa Claus is a spirit, and it's the spirit of that we possess. And there's so many freaking people in the world now that Santa really can't deliver that many gifts to that many freaking people. So it is because of the spirit that's in all of us that we're actually Santa's helpers, and we are doing for each other. So it's just a reframe, okay? If you are tired of the commercial aspects of a holiday, I use my quote fingers, then change the meaning. It's like the world that we live in doesn't have to be everyone's world. I talk about building a bubble around ourselves and create meaning within your own bubble. Have holidays mean whatever you want them to mean, as long as it's good. So I don't have to have a world view when it comes to Christmas in my home. My wife enjoys decorating the home, so why would I take that from her? My daughter tried to claim that she was lacking Christmas spirit, but simultaneously said, "Can we turn on the Santa tracker?" So it's like, again, it's you make it what you need it to be and what you would like it to be. And as I've gotten older, I've learned to find a lot more joy in it because there's not many of them left. Depending on if somebody lives to be, say, 75 years old, that means there's only 75 summer times. That means there's only 75 Christmases, So I don't want to resent something that really is going to be, something that you're going to want more as you get older than you ever thought you would, as a child. I don't know. It's just kind of I like the bubble aspect of your worldview, right?
Yeah, it is there's something about like a lit Christmas tree in the living room. Like when I'm hanging out with my family, it's just like very warming. People are, I would say that people are, I think, overall like nicer around the holidays, even though they're stressful, crazy times. But again, like to that point, I don't want the holiday be it shouldn't be a reason to be nice. I think you should be nice all the time.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't like leverage this and be like, oh, it's like the new year. When the new year hits, everybody wants to change their lives. Just change your life today, right now, in this moment. It's you're in control of it. It's a decision. And like we were talking about before we got on the air of like, I'm like anticipating the first of the year for some reason, which is, it's not a bad thing. But it's just kind of funny how we set these ideas ahead in the future. Like, oh, on January 1st, I'm going to get my shit together. But for the next 3 months, I'm just going to get crazy. I'm just going to eat my kids' Halloween candy. Yeah, I'm going to, overindulge.
Imagine if Christmas was in June. How would we justify all the eating and all the drinking and all the late nights and all the crappy television?
And in Michigan, too, it's like it coincides with winter. So, like, the hibernation aspect of eating, like, a lot of food and, like, being inside, not doing anything active, it all kind of just creates this bubble of poor lifestyle choices. And it's a
justifiable poor lifestyle
and it's
choices.
Communal,
yeah.
So it's even more dangerous. Like, even me, I pride myself in my ability to be very strict with my lifestyle and my health. I do it for a living, for God's sake. I like to practice what I preach. But, man, you're hanging out with your family and their family's family, and there's 30 people there, and there's not one good, healthy thing to eat, and everyone's giving you shit because, like, you're like, oh, it's the holidays. It's eat a cookie. It's the holidays. And eventually, like, just to get them all to shut up, you eat a cookie. It's like...
Come on, Mom worked really hard on baking these. Well, She didn't really work that hard. It was Pillsbury, but...
Yeah, you just followed directions. You can't bake any other way.
I like that. I like taking things down, and it's like when I mentioned the worldview, but when we take a look at life and we take a look at seasons, we really we stretch it out, and we have this really wide what seems like a wide lens because I'm analyzing my life in its entirety. I'm analyzing everything that's happened to this date and everything that I hope will happen. Moving forward, you had said earlier, like, you love the idea of a new year, of a new calendar year. And I've went back and forth on that. It doesn't mean I liked it and disliked it. It just means how I've described it. So there is something pretty special about, circling a date on the calendar, like whether it be a vacation or a wedding, how there's all those wedding boot camps and, people that are anticipating a day and how it can really give you tunnel vision on working on things that are important to you. So when I see that people really create the value in this case, the new year, I let them have it because, like we said, life is the moment, and so you do have to capture a moment. And we've also, I don't want people to be critical of what they haven't done today, or what we didn't do yesterday, and how it led us to who we are today. But I think I don't want you to be mad at what you didn't do, but I do want you to be conscious of the value of living one good day, okay? And that's kind of the theme to what we're talking about today. I guess we're probably going to give our podcast a title. If we were going to give it a title, I'd say we call it the Rule of 168. It's something I've kind of coined on my own, and people say, well, what is that? And I said, well, it's really simple. There's 168 hours in a week, okay? And if we are the total sum of all the things we've thought about, all the things we've done, all the things we've eaten, all the things we've watched, and I wake up today, the total sum of everything that I did, say even yesterday, then that really puts this moment and this day really on the hot seat. So when you're wanting to create positives in our life, just like why we're doing this podcast, just like why we're sharing time together, just like why we're trying to build a business. We're trying to make life fun. We're trying to make life, worth getting out of bed. And so the rule of 168 is really just the concept of, out of 7 days in a week, 24 hours in a day, we want to create a tipping point that would start getting us accumulating more good than bad in our life. Okay? So do you look at your life like in week increments, or is it day increments? Is it meal increments? Like, how do you look at life?
Well, I try to, and we've talked a lot about this just on our own, like obviously have longer term goals. And again, to your point of the anticipation factor, I've heard Tim Ferriss talk at length about how he'll set these goals for the year with the objective that like the anticipation to them is going to be more enjoyable than the event itself, which is a common theme, at least in my own life. It's like the build-up is more enjoyable than the actual event a lot of the time. It just kind of happens and it's over. But that build-up you can always remember. Like you're super excited, you're more motivated, you're a little more enjoyable to be around. But I like to think about, so something that's been really big for me is a planner. Like every night I'll plan out my next day because I've been prone to wasting a lot of time with stupid shit, like I think everybody else. But then I'll usually build that into a week to month, goal. So I'll say, what can I do today that's going to allow me to be where I want next week, next month, next year, next 5 years. And obviously the 5 year, trying to foresee the next 5 years is pretty crazy. But to build that momentum and, the one decision at a time kind of mentality, if you build those, if you build in that 5 year plan brick by brick, how far off are you going to be if you execute it every day? You might not be exactly where you plan to be, but you're going to be closer than if you just got lazy and you didn't follow anything, and you're just going through your day oblivious to the realities of your future. So I would say for me, it's always a process. I don't think I have it down to a science yet. I think I can get better at it, but journaling, writing down, what I did today, what I want to get done today, having a plan, being conscious, aware of it. But it's hard to take advantage of, every hour, every minute, It's a challenge. It's a strong challenge for sure.
Yeah, I like that. I read and at your age, I do think that you're not seeing the value of it yet because you just haven't accumulated enough time, that word time again. But you have some really good habits. I read a book earlier this year from, I hope I say the last name right, it's Charles Duhigg. And it was called Smarter, Faster, Better, or Smarter, Faster, Bigger, something like that. And it was this really cool idea on vision planning. So let's say I want to be a millionaire in 10 years. Okay, well, for me to think about having $1 million, 10 years from now when I have like 4 right now, it's like a massive goal that it just really, it's overwhelming and it's very hard to focus on and it's very hard to believe that the things that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis are actually going to lead me there. So what this book did was it talked about a SMART goal and a stretch goal. So my stretch goal would be the $1 million in 10 years. The SMART goal is bringing you all the way back to today and what can we do to get me closer to that $1 million. So I won't spend too much time on it, but it's really neat how it worked out. So when you think about, all right, let's say I get a coffee every day. I stop and get a coffee. Maybe that's $3 and that's 7 days a week and that's $21. That's $84 a month. Doesn't sound like a lot, and I'm not telling you not to go get your coffee. I'm just using it as an example. But if you think about that $84 a month, over 12 months. Now we're around $1,000 a year. Now let's say that $1,000 a year was in an IRA account and it accumulated interest of whatever, 8 to 12% year over year. Well, over 10 years, now all of a sudden you're up to, say, $125,000, okay? Now I only have to come up with another $875,000. So what it does is it takes that big goal, that $1 million, and it breaks it all the way down into little bitty daily habits. So again, accumulating a little interest, saving a little money, maybe working an hour extra, maybe one less restaurant a week. You think about just little subtle things and how they can easily get you to $1 million over 10 years. So it's a really exciting concept. It's a really exciting concept, again, about how a moment can really make a profound impact in whatever your goals are, whatever your life is. If your goals are, again, we use weight loss because we can all understand its importance to people that want to lose it. So, but I don't like to. I think it's a very small goal. I think weight loss is something that's very small. But when you think about the little itty bitty daily things that you have to do to say lose a pound a week or 2 pounds a week, okay, it starts to create a much bigger value in this meal, in this exercise program, in this getting to bed on time, or in this getting up 15 minutes earlier, right? And so that's what we're here talking about is believing in the little things and how they amount to, massively profound things in people's lives, and it just makes life more enjoyable. It makes us feel like that even something as simple as maybe just going for a walk, that it is leading you closer to a goal, right? And where before maybe you just took that walk because you were bored, and now it's a lot cooler to think that going for a walk in nature is leading me closer to my $1 million.
It's interesting, man. I think it's something that I've tried to do better over the last couple of years and this kind of falls into that stoic thought, something that we can both, relate on. It's been a huge, stoicism has been a huge, it's caused a huge shift in the way I look at the world in my own life. But the idea of, with all things, like taking away rather than adding, it tends to lead to better results, right? So back to your financial example, a dollar made isn't a dollar saved because you're going to get taxed on that dollar. So you're really not making that dollar, whereas that dollar saved, that's all your dollar in your pocket. So if you adjust for that, that dollar saved is going to be more beneficial than that dollar made. I think it's a very important thing. Same with your healthy lifestyle. It's like, what really poor decisions are you making, and take those away. Don't worry about adding more supplements or, adding a treadmill to your house or, those are just excuses. Like, you don't need any more stuff to get yourself where you want to go.
How could you say that in this holiday season of giving? If anybody out there wants to buy me a treadmill, just make sure you give me the receipt.
Yeah, I want one of those recurve ones. They're like $7,000.
Drive, I know. Yeah. Man. Well, they go up every day because they're popular now.
Yeah. Well, if I had one, I would probably be in way better shape.
Much better.
Yeah,
much better.
If I had a coach, a chef prepping my meals, someone looking over me every hour of the day, making sure that I'm doing what I need to do.
Those are all very true.
I know, it'd be great.
That's why we're thankful to have podcasts, and we're thankful to have free videos on YouTube.
Yeah, but podcasts aren't going to cook me meals. But they're going to make me enjoy cooking meals because I'm going to listen to them.
Well, get an advertiser on there that pays you money, and then you can find somebody to cook for you.
One of those meal prep advertisers. Give them a shout out, and they send us free meals. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, I think I like this concept of this living, again, finding flow in the moment, finding flow in a day. And again, I think it makes things actually bigger rather than smaller. Again, we talked about a big goal, bringing it down to something small, but it makes my days big. It makes my days important. It makes me look at my day from a wide lens, So these are things that I've been forced to. These are habits I've been forced to implement. And why? Well, because I'm trying to build a business brand. I'm trying to be a leader of sorts. But again, the little simple small things on, again, what creates a leader? What creates a thriving business? What makes you a great mentor? What makes somebody a wonderful friend, a wonderful father? It's the sum of little itty bitty parts, right? So I try to, especially with our, we have children. So I find myself, as I'm trying to guide her, and I don't know at what point she's going to check me out because of how quickly this world is evolving. I mean, what did we say earlier? It took us a couple million years to get to 1985, and it took us 30 years to build a freaking amazing technological planet. So But it was almost like it just took a moment to become an overnight.
It was like 70 years between, like, I could be butchering that number, but it's really short from when we flew the first plane to when we dropped the first nuclear bomb.
Yeah, it didn't take long.
It's outrageous, the innovation. I don't know. I the other day I did this little experiment to yours, not to cut you off, but to your 168 rule. I was struggling. I just couldn't focus for whatever reason. I was trying to just sit down and read for an hour, and I kept getting distracted. So I just had this weird inclination to just to do the math on how many hours I've been living. And it came out to 200,000 hours.
Oh, I love that.
And it was just the most humbling and you can't sit here for an hour and do something that's going to make your life better. And you've been alive for obviously a lot of those hours, at 23, a lot of those hours have just been wasteful youth, just doing stupid shit and trying to, become an adult. But, the last 5 years haven't. I've been aware, at least enough, of a lot of these things to start putting them into practice. And it was ever since I did that little thought experiment, whenever I sit down, I think about it. I'm like, if I can't sit here and focus for 2 hours right now, I'm going to be doing the same math 100,000 hours from now when I'm 30 going, holy shit, what could I have gotten done if I would have just used that 100,000 hours to make myself better in each and every moment.
Well, I just want to, I said it earlier, I want to remind you that you are on the fast track. I'm sitting here as your friend, I'm sitting here as your coworker, and I'm telling you, you're on the fast track. If there's any advice I could give you or anybody out there that might needs it as far as, age and longevity is, it's okay if you were going to try to read for that hour and it just wasn't working. Maybe your karma was telling you maybe it was time to sit down and actually watch a movie with the family. We have to also believe, here we are, again, we're trying to get to our $1 million. We're trying to get to a thriving business. Everybody that's listening is trying to get to their end goal. But I forget exactly who said it, but it was we focus on the end goal, but maybe it was the journey that was the whole point, and that's where, again, if we actually are going to get into, how do we create that positive tipping point in small sums like 168, like a week? How are we going to win a week? I think we have to be willing to have a few different pieces of the pie that we bring into life, and I think some of that is relaxation. I told somebody the other day again, it was pre-holiday eating, and I said, look, I'm not telling you to eat apple pie with whipped cream and all that stuff, but if you are going to do it, enjoy it. Love it. Actually say, this is delicious. What would be the point of having the pie with the whipped cream, with the family, in the perfect setting, and actually being disgusted by eating it? Right? So what good did that do? So not only did you put a bunch of crap into your body, now you're going to self-mutilate with how you feel about yourself for the next 6 hours, and then the next day, and then the next day after that, and then you're probably going to go hit a treadmill and overtrain and overexert yourself. And then really, so what you think about is really what good came from that. So on our way to enlightenment, on our journey to millions of dollars and big branded businesses, let's also make sure we take some time for it. We want to enjoy everything that we do. We want to enjoy our downtime. We want to enjoy our work time. We want to enjoy our contemplation time, and we sure as hell want to enjoy the time that we sleep. So I think it's. I like the 1 week. I think it's a big enough. I think it's a big enough time frame that can be broken down into moments. Okay, so how can we help our audience figure out how to create balance? For me, I love numbers, okay? So if there's 168 hours in a week, I'm like, well, what's half of that? That's 84, okay, 84 hours a week. So that means I got to have 85 hours of positive things in my life to 83 hours of maybe things that are not so great for my life. And then, again, that's not a huge tip, but if we are the sum, I guess if you were winning at least a couple of more hours week over week to your 200,000 hour rule, man, that would really add up, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know, it might take us 50 years to get to something, but hopefully along the way on my journey, I enjoyed a piece of pie. And maybe I enjoyed that walk in nature. But that's what it's about, being in the moment and being mindful. Like, if we're thinking about the $1 million every single day, I might be forgetting to enjoy my piece of pie. Okay? I paid for that pie. You know, so
Mouth pleasure. That's that short term.
it's something, right?
That's a weird one, man. Because I'll do that every once in a while. I'll just fall in. You know, I said earlier, I just eat the cookie at Christmas, like, just to make everyone shut up, and then, like, feel disgusted with myself. Obviously, it's a different setting, and I probably should have just avoided that.
Or enjoy it.
Yeah, right. Or
it was made with love.
But it's back to that point of the one good decision after another, and back to the point of taking things away. For me, the shift came, and trying to find that lead domino, I think, is very important. Like, why? Like, why do you want to come into the gym and work out every day? Just because you think that's what you should do? Because you're not gonna get where you want to go doing that. It's gotta have some sort of purpose, right? And for me, I find my brain starts to just, it's like I'm in a cloud when I start falling out of my good habits. And yeah, good habits are hard to follow. You know, waking up early is harder than sleeping in. You know, eating a good meal at a good time is harder than just going out to eat with your friends every lunch break. You know, it's making those decisions. But when I revert to bad decisions, what happens is, like, I feel mild anxiety start creeping in. And it's all, like, I have personally found that the diet is absolutely my lead domino. When I start to slip with my eating, everything else goes out the window. Everything. I start sleeping more poorly. I end up staying up later. I might have a couple more drinks. I'll put off reading for a week. I won't write. And then, like, that week, you know, to your point of measurement, by the end of that week, I am just, and I shouldn't, and again, this is one of the things I'm working on at 23 is, at the end of that week, I shouldn't be all upset with myself. I should just reassess and then get my mind straight and, you know, jump back in and fix it, you know, which is a process in and of itself. But the comparison between that week and the week that I am up early, I'm motivated, I'm hanging out with my son and my family, I'm eating really healthy, I'm exercising, training, I'm having great conversations, I'm getting my work done. When that Friday, Saturday rolls around, it's just like, I feel like I'm a superhero.
Like you won.
Yeah, I literally feel like I won, and that's enough. I've heard people talk about it with training on the day-to-day, where it's like, a lot of, like, high-power CEOs, like, just people that are super successful, talk about this. Like, if they wake up and they train, it's something they can control, right? It's a win. They start their day off with a win. And they find that if they go through their whole day and just, like, it's really stressful and they don't get anything done, they can usually finish that day and say, hey, at least I worked out. At least I did something positive on this day. And that's kind of that what's going to keep them motivated for that next day. It's like, all right, tomorrow I'm going to wake up and work out, and hopefully the rest of my day is going to square off and be a little bit better, and we're going to keep going.
Well, and even, what is our true teacher in life is I hate to refer to them as failures, but I think if I call it a failure, most people can relate, okay? But I don't really mean that. But it's kind of like the obstacle being the way, right? So if you have a really bad day, you should almost be thankful for your lack of consciousness on that day, because if you are actually saying to yourself, man, I didn't have a really great day yesterday, maybe that is the platform that launches the next day. You know, maybe going and getting that workout after a late night, maybe eating things you shouldn't have. It doesn't have to be guilt-based. It can be balance-based. So, like you said with exercises, you know, at my age, I don't really get bigger or stronger anymore. So I had to shape-shift my mind on, okay, well then why am I training? And I think it really just boils down to winning the day. I tell you, a cold beer sure does taste a whole lot better after a good workout, right? But I'm learning to, again, with the rule of 168, I'm learning to embrace even the things that I didn't do as well as I should have, because then they're my teachers. That becomes my bad habit of today will become tomorrow's teacher, okay? And I'm very thankful for those things. You know, when you think about, like, relationships, you know, sometimes you have to get broken up with or cheated on before you'll truly be inspired to find the love of your life. You know, you have to be fired or laid off from a job sometimes to be forced to find the job of your dreams, you know, and doing something that really truly makes you happy. So, you know, even in in the moment to moment when we're not having the most advantageous moment we can possibly have, there is a lesson in everything. There's a lesson in consciousness. There's a lesson in mindfulness. There's a lesson in a piece of pie. A piece of pie can teach us a whole lot. It can teach us, first of all, without whipped cream, the pie didn't really taste that good, right? So I think there's something we can learn there. But again, it's like that will be my catalyst. That will be my drive. Where if I didn't win that 24-hour period, more than likely I'm going to win the next 48. I'm going to be able to stay on point and stay focused for that much time. And I've learned to kind of like at the end of each week, not that I get too focused on them, but for the sake of this podcast, but at the end of each week when you add up, how did I sleep? Was I kind to people? Did I get my work done? How did I eat over the, if you have 3 or 4 meals a day, again, I like math. So 4 meals a day is 28 meals a week. Did I win? Did I have 15 good meals to maybe 13 meals that could have been slightly better? If I sleep 7 hours a night, that's 49 hours a week. Did I get some good restful sleep, even if one of them I didn't really fall asleep immediately, or maybe I woke up a little before my alarm? But did I win? Did I win the night's rest? Did I win the morning? Did I wake up on time where I got to have my, we talked about having that morning cup of coffee. Did I have that morning cup of coffee? Did I sit in 10 minutes in contemplation? So did I win my morning? So it's important to embrace even the things that aren't perfect and how they become very, very important to creating that positive tip week over week, month over month. And then, you're living a life worth living. And there wouldn't be pie in the world if it wasn't supposed to teach us something, right?
I think it's all awareness, right? Like the common expression, everything happens for a reason, which I like and don't like. I heard someone rephrase it the other day, and they said everything happens and we can give it reason.
You can find a reason.
Exactly. Yeah. And I thought that was a lot more it was a lot more applicable to the real world, because it can be a cop-out, right? Like, you'll get people that will just constantly say that even though they're going nowhere in life. Everything happens for a reason, man. Like, it's just like, well, you can control, how you react to it.
Well, did you find the reason?
Yeah, most likely not.
Did you stop and sit down and actually,
Yeah, so it's for me, that's been one of the things I really want to focus on in the new year is not beating myself up when I don't follow through on the things. Because going back to the journal thing, I write every night, and I'll kind of plan out my next day. And I got into such a good habit of it that, like, if it didn't go the way I wanted it to, I wouldn't be, like, upset, or I wouldn't be too down on myself, but it just kind of, I'd reassess and be like, damn, like, I really want to get this done. And maybe it would keep me down a little bit. But obviously, as we all know in life, planning even into that next day, especially with children, you just can't. You can only control what you can control and let the rest happen. I think that's kind of the golden rule of living and continually trying to take advantage of the things that you can control, like your health, man. I mean, it's hard to not go back to that. I mean, obviously it's what we do for a living. We help people try to reestablish their meat vehicle for the better, but the importance of the mind-body connection. And I wonder, because I know a lot of really happy people, happy from what I know them, that are clearly not healthy, and they'll say, I'm great, I feel great, I'm happy, but I just wonder, I'm like, could you feel a lot better? Like if you stopped eating a bagel before work every day, and you started eating like some eggs and bacon and some bulletproof coffee, like would you become a better person for it? Do you think you'd have more energy? Do you think your mind would be clear? Do you think you'd work harder? Would you have more motivation? And I go back and forth with that thought process. Like, do I push that, or do I just let them live their life? And
it's
interesting.
That's a really cool a way of looking at that. And I want to add something to that. Hopefully, it's not off to the left because. Right, what does it mean to be successful? What does it mean to be? What does it mean to win? What does it mean to live a life worth living? I think that's up to the individual's interpretation of life, and so that's what this and all of the podcasts that we're going to do is meant to do. Now, one thing I can't tell people what to do is exactly how to live. Right, there are many different what they call states of consciousness in this world. And you can occupy any state for as long as you want from the minute you're born to the minute you die. And so within any individual state, you can win. You can be successful. And so success is relative. Prosperity is relative. It's relative to the person. What we're doing with this podcast is initially it's about building you and I and having these conversations because like journaling, I plan to learn from our talks. I like taking a topic and rolling it around in my hands and looking at it three-dimensionally. And so it's important that people find you're going to find your own definition of, again, successful because there is nothing universal. Now, what I will tell you is as we are plugging away, if you're conscious and if your bagel-eating, late-night, movie-watching friend is conscious that he loves bagels and he likes to stay up late and watching movies, then in his state, maybe he is actually creating a tipping point in his life that he does feel happy, and I'm thankful for that. Well, my challenge to everybody will be if you are truly seeking, and it doesn't matter what state you're in. Again, if you drink alcohol every day, that's a state, and we can all appreciate the type of life that's going to be surrounded with going to the bar 7 days a week. I'm not mad at them, but there's different levels of success in that life. But, just like if you find religion, in religion, all of a sudden you're surrounded by different people, and the things that you do on a daily basis is a little bit different. It's a little tweaked, and you can find success in there. But what we're here to do is we're here to challenge people, aren't we? We're here to challenge each other. I think it's probably most important if we stay there, challenging each other, is if you're consistently seeking, if you're consistently looking to create those tipping points and create those wins, I believe that the shape-shifting that's required to continue to seek higher gains and be able to create bigger goals. And again, going back to that $1 million, it's going to be really hard for the person that stays up late, sleeps in and doesn't eat good unless they're lucky.
Or if they put all their money in Bitcoin.
Right. I guess we should have a podcast on digital currency. But yeah, so I just think certain goals, the goals that I have for myself, are not going to be very easily obtained living that other life that we described, that late night, that sleep in kind of life.
What's the state that you're seeking to occupy?
Well,
and where do you think you are now?
That's interesting. That's an interesting question. Part of spiritual growth, in my words, is one thing that I experience a lot is amnesia. So it's hard for me to tell you where I'm at. It's really more important for me to ask the people closest to me, like, what do you think of me? What kind of a man am I? What type of a friend am I? What kind of a coworker am I? What kind of a leader am I? And I think I would be more interested in your words. I would be more interested in what you have to say about me, because part of growth, let's say I used to be very stressed out. When you advance your spirituality or your consciousness, what you learn to do is you learn to deal differently with things that were guilty. That if I used to experience a lot of guilt for the things I didn't have and maybe the man that I wasn't at the time. So the amnesia comes from the fact that I look at guilt differently now. Like, guilt doesn't really exist to me anymore because I now understand that the things that I was guilty over were part of who I am and who I've become. Again, remember, it's like that analogy of getting broke up with to find the love of your life. I had to go through guilt and anxiety and sleeplessness to be able to identify better with why do I have so much guilt and why don't I sleep well and why do I have so much anxiety? So by me processing those emotions because they were causing me pain, I no longer feel guilt. And so it's hard to say what state I'm in. And you asked me, where am I going? Well, I don't know. Again, I'm going to forget where I am today as I move forward, as I move into the next rung of the quest to enlightenment, if you will. But I think I just want to enjoy this human experiment as much as possible. And I know that things like bad sleep, guilt, poor behaviors don't make me feel great, and that means that the human experiment is not really as worthwhile as it was on the day that I did eat very clean and did get an exercise session in and did get up early and I had that great day, right? So because I'm seeking, I don't know where it's taking me because I don't know how much time I have left. I don't know on the human world, I don't know how many more hours I'm going to have. And so I don't exactly know, quote, where I'll end up. But I know that I will continue to seek a different set of lenses by which to view life through. That is my hope and thought every single day. So that's where, again, winning the meal, winning the day, winning the night's sleep is important to me because I know that I'm going to be a better product, a better person the next day than I was the day previous. Did that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's interesting because in my own head, I'm thinking about almost the internal dialogue on a day-to-day of when you can almost feel yourself beginning to transcend. And I say that very loosely, like when you're doing the right things, you feel like you're on the right path. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it makes me wonder, again, back to our bagel-eating, movie-watching friend, and maybe it's just the complete lack of awareness, right? But with the age of information and the constant desire to portray someone that you're not, which is obviously one of the most common things in our world today in 2017. As a 23-year-old, I can say that with full confidence, right? People just completely not living by the standards of who they want to be, and they're trying to make themselves somebody that they're not. And it's just a trap. So you look at, you get tied into almost mental illness, right? People that aren't living in sync with their internal dialogue. But I feel as though when you are and you're doing those things on the day-to-day, and I think the lesson is learned when you eat that piece of pie when you know you knew you shouldn't have, and you feel that, like, just that, if you feel like you just hit a roadblock and you just stopped and it hurts and it sucks, and then you get back on your high horse and you start doing things right and you start feeling good, you feel the momentum, and you feel like you're back on your way to that next state almost. But the way you were explaining it just kind of sparked that thought in my head. I was just thinking about, like, when we do these podcasts, I feel after we're done, I always feel amazing, because it's challenging my thoughts. It's challenging my beliefs. I'm learning more about you, the way you tick, the way your mind works, and we're cultivating these ideas in real time. Obviously, when people listen to them, it won't be, exact real time, but yeah, it's a fascinating, the whole, because you've explained this whole state theory, transcending different states, a little bit before the podcast and before we even started this, and I've been pondering it for weeks now.
Well, I got a question for you. Let's go back to the friend, the enriched white flour friend.
Oh, the bagel
I like referring to him as somebody who's enriched.
He probably has pizza in the afternoon too.
But let me ask you though, on a personal level, because ultimately that's what life is. Life is ours. Life is how we live it, and then with the way we live, how it influences others. Okay. Maybe I guess I was going to ask you. Do you think that he's perhaps playing a role in your life? That you can use him as almost like a view on some humans and how you don't really like the way he's going about things, but perhaps he's in your life and lives the way he lives to help keeping you push closer to your goals. Remember, that's like the yin and yang. That's the yin and yang of life. So remember, if there was no unsuccessful people, there'd be no way to identify success.
Need baselines for sure.
Yeah, and so I have learned to really embrace balance. I've learned, and I realize that there's going to be for every asshole on the road that nobody can do right by them. Nobody's driving fast enough for them. Nobody will get out of their way quick enough for them. That I need that to appreciate how I don't stress when I drive. I love my audiobooks in my car. I love being stopped by a train.
Yeah, my car becomes a classroom. Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely it'll get you every once in a while when the circumstances are dire and you're already 20 minutes late and now you're stuck at a train. You can have that quick little reaction.
Well, I mean, I get to look at again, if I'm trying to lecture, say, my daughter, and right now in the virtual world, it's just something that's very hard for me to understand because I still grew up, again, playing outside. We mentioned that last time. But I have to remember how to teach her in her world how to win a day. And even if she's going to be on the computer all day long, how you want to look at more good things than bad things, and how you want to create that intellectual tip. But I love being able to reflect on who I was, and how, again, if I regretted who I was, I wouldn't have that teacher to help her mold and shape into being her best version of herself, right? So the things I used to hate about myself, I'm now thankful that I've been through those experiences, because I can now use those experiences and, again, not only pair or balance my positive efforts against negative efforts, but I can use my stories to help people identify with maybe some things that they find painful, and ultimately that's my goal. That's my personal goal, and I can't say that's the goal of all of us at the Inflow Academy, but I hope it is. I hope it is that we're helping people kind of right that ship, and that starts with us. Okay, so I think that we should probably give people, I think we've given some pretty good ideas, and I really just want to kind of want to break down, the importance of winning a meal and winning a day, and trying to create that tipping point. And if you had a bad day on Monday, how we can create a very positive balance and maybe even tip into the positive on Tuesday. So we do want to, we started the whole segment with talking about the holidays, and it was a really, nutritionally speaking, and when you think about sleep deprivation, it's really not a great holiday for a lot of people, but let's use it as a way of helping us define what we're going to do today and what we're going to do hopefully leading into tomorrow, and how the little things are actually big things when all that exists is right now, right? So I'm winning my day today. I woke up at 4:30 in the morning. I have had breakfast. I have hydrated. I did train. I was a servant to my customers all morning long, and we've created what I believe is an amazing podcast for people that are seeking answers today. And so I believe that, I guess if I go to bed right now, I can officially say I've won the day. So hopefully I don't. Hopefully I don't
crashing out at 1:30 in the afternoon.
I was gonna say hopefully I don't screw it up the rest of the way. But I feel like I'm way out in front today. I've won. I feel great, and I know that this momentum from today's work, the people I've been fortunate enough to interact with, spending time with you, and reminding myself of the path that I've chosen for myself. Thankful for the people who want to be a part of that as well. So it's just remember to win the moment, because it does add up.
Yeah, I think and to build on that with what you were saying earlier about the bagel eating guy that we keep referring to, I think that he does play a huge role. And I think, assessing that and seeing that and realizing that I don't want that is important. But back to your positive shift, the 85 hours versus the 83, in the week. You can't surround yourself with those people. I think it's, I'm trying to think of the guy who has the famous quote, "If you are the sum of your 5 closest friends." And I read that right after I had my son, right after I dropped out of college, when I was working in a factory like 60 hours a week, commuting 40 minutes to go to school for personal training 3 days a week, and like all my friends are partying, and I'm like, waking up with the kid who's throwing up on me at 3 in the morning, and I'm sleep deprived beyond belief. I was just like not in a good place. And then on top of that, I was hanging out with people, and this isn't my closest friends now today. I learned through this process are some of the best people in my life. And there's only a few of them, which is, I think, the way it should be. A few friends, lots of acquaintances kind of thing. But as important as it is to have that guy in my life, I can't have him around all the time, at least for me personally. It becomes very difficult when every time I hang out with 4 of my friends, when they're all drinking beers and ordering pizza, and I'm just around. If I'm around it every day, at what point am I going to break? And is it like, maybe I won't break, but the expenditure of energy to not break every day would be so exhausting. So to assess that and to kind of answer your question that you had asked me earlier, I think he does play a role, but I think it kind of builds on your 168-hour rule. It's the positive tipping point to make sure that I spend more of my time with people like you having these conversations, people like Dan in the gym learning more about, the intricacies of training, growing as a team, as a leader, as a friend, as a coach, as a dad. Did I say dad? I think I did. But it's the people you surround yourself with, and I think that's what we're trying to create here at the Inflow Academy. It's like when we want you here as often as possible because we want to be those people for you. We want to be the people that constantly build you up when there's people out in the real world breaking you down. And if we can outweigh that, if we can outweigh the people breaking you down, then we're going to eventually hit that positive shift, whether it's 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, 5 years. It's going to come eventually.
And just remember the important role that we play for people who maybe aren't thinking the way we're trying to think and maybe aren't obtaining the goals on each day or maybe have a lot of guilt or anxiety in their life. And it's important to understand the role we play for them. And so I want to be what I hope to be what people want to be more like. And that's my hopes each and every day. So I'm hoping the rule of 168 will give some people some ways of thinking about it. Again, some ways of getting rid of like the guilt and anxiety of what we weren't and understanding, but better understanding how those days play such a positive role in the next day, if we will, and just how to build momentum. And I hope everybody out there wins this day and wins the week.
And the holidays, get through the holidays. It's a common expression. You just got to get through the holidays, man.
Yeah, you can look at it, again, I like looking at it as a new year, but you can also look at it as Monday.
I love Monday. Learn to love Monday.
Yeah.
I think that's
it's bench day. So
it's always the International Chest Day. You got anything you want to leave people with on top of that? The rule 168?
Win the day. Create that tipping point and be willing to appreciate remember the stretch goal of who we want to be late into the future, but be very aware of the journey. Be very aware of the journey that we're on. Again, I want you to enjoy apple pie the same way that you enjoy cultivating the new and anticipating the next great thing in each of your lives.
I love it, man. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up right there with that beautiful nugget of information. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll be back. We're going to try to do this every Monday. And it's a new year, so we have no excuse not to. It's the new year.
I guess that means 52 podcasts coming in the next
Hell yeah,
week,
if not more. We might even just kind of jump in and do some other stuff along the way. Who knows? We're just going to live in the moment, right?
Right. I thank you for the conversation as well. I thank you for your insight, and I hope to teach as much as I can learn. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks again, guys. Later. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. Just want to give a quick shout to our sponsor, the Inflow Wellness Academy, located in Plymouth, Michigan. Make sure you check them out at inflowacademy.com, on Facebook and YouTube at Inflow Wellness Academy, and Instagram at Inflow Academy. Mention that you're a listener of the Finding Flow podcast and receive some awesome discounts on our exceptional services over at the Inflow Wellness Academy. These services include personal training through semi-private and private. We offer yoga, massage therapy, laser therapy, group classes, just about anything you need to optimize your life. We'll guide you through nutrition. We'll guide you through supplementation. We'll help you build a strong mind and help you achieve a better state of flow on the day-to-day basis. So make sure you check them out. And once again, thanks for tuning in to the Finding Flow podcast.